What's up, everybody? It's Chibi, and today I'm here to bring you a manga volume review of Berserk, volume 35. Now, before I begin this volume review, I just want to take a few moments to discuss what happened last week if you are unaware of what happened. As you all know, I am very, very passionate when it comes to Berserk, and I love getting a volume review up weekly. I love doing that, and usually if, everything is right, I will have a volume review up weekly. But the sad thing was, last week I couldn't get a volume review up because of power outages and stuff like that, and if you were keeping up to date with my vlogs, most likely you knew I couldn't get out a Berserk review last week. And I stated in my special, the weekly vlog, that I will try to get out 2 volume reviews of Berserk this week. And I just finished volume 35, and I read it twice to make sure I had a good understanding of this volume, and I've yet to actually move on to volume 36. I will be reading that right after I'm done with this review and done editing it and stuff like that. So I just want to start off the bat and say, yes, expect another review of Berserk this week. I will try to get up as soon as possible, and I'm doing that to reward all of you for putting up and dealing with no Berserk review last week. I'm making up for missing last week and giving you guys like a double review this week. So right off the bat, when it comes to this volume, a lot of setup. That's what this volume is. A lot of setup and a terrible cliffhanger. Like, the cliffhanger is nasty. As always, when it comes to Berserk, the cliffhangers are pretty freaking nasty, and that's what this volume is. It leaves us with Guts going into his Berserker mode. That's what happens at the end of this volume. And we see how Guts is, getting enraged. He's beating the shit out of these tentacle sea god creatures, and then the volume ends. And I personally, I'm kind of upset it ended like that, but I'm actually happy I decided to skip last week because I can read both of these volumes at once. So that means I can read volume 35, finish this, go read volume 36, and then do a review on that. And, I don't have to deal with this cliffhanger this week. Most likely, knowing my luck, volume 36 is going to have a worse cliffhanger than even this volume, but we'll have to see on that. Now, the details I want to cover first is the beginning portion of this volume. You get to see a city rise up out of the ground, or it just appears, and the city, instantly when I saw this city at the beginning, like you see after the events of the Emperor when he got taken down by Griffith, and you saw the world fracture into, like, the astral layers fusing together. Well, upon that happening, you had it to where this city rose up and appeared in front of everybody. This giant-ass city, and supposedly it's called Falconia, I think that's how you say it. And instantly when I saw that city, I'm just going to say right now, most likely there's been theories, it's been mentioned before, because I don't know how long ago this chapter was written, but it's very, very obvious after I went back to the previous volumes when it was first mentioned. It's very obvious that that city that rose up was the same city that was destroyed like 1,000 years ago. I think it was 1,000 years ago. It was the, town that was destroyed by the 4 angels that came down, destroyed the town, took out the king, and it was kind of Geisric's, city before it was destroyed. And I'm assuming that's what the city is. It's, the old city before it was destroyed. And it's kind of hinted at that it is the city because you have it to where the, Count dude, he's like, oh, yeah, that city, is that the city that was in Legends that supposedly sunk underneath Windham? And then I'm like, oh yeah. So it's pretty obvious it is the same city. It might be slightly different, but it's pretty obvious it's the same city. So I'm kind of curious about something. I'm guessing the reason why the city is still standing, even though it's been sunken and crushed, I guess it has something to do with the astral layers, how we found out in volume 24 and 25. I remember in volume 24 and 25, there was a tree, a dead tree. Like, we had it to where, the old witch mistress, she talked about how the tree in this plane of the astral layer is alive and living, and it's grown, it's like gigantic, but in the actual physical realm, the tree is already dead. And so I'm guessing that's what that means. Like, this building, this giant-ass city is there because it had a lot of connection, connection to other people when it was still around, and that is why it is still there. So, that pretty much, you gotta love the foreshadowing of that, of how the city is still around because of the connection it had to the physical realm and stuff like that. You gotta love Kentaro when it comes to the setups for stuff like that. So, besides that, the beginning of how everybody's going to the capital of the New World, Falconia, it's very ironic how the name is, Falconia, actually. I don't know if it's because they decided to call it that, or if the city was always called that, but look at this artwork. Look at that artwork real quick. Look at that. That dude, that's some beat shit. Like, oh, Like, you know, it's got even griffins. Like, griffins? Dude. Like, seriously, if this city is the exact same city and it hasn't been changed at all, it's just very ironic how there's, you know, griffins in this city, and it's called Falconia, and, you know, Griffith is, you know, Griffith, and you can kind of, you know, make the word sound similar to Griffin. So it's weird. It's really weird if you start thinking about the similarities of that. And look at this, look at the town shot. Like, look at that shit right there. That's impressive artwork. Like, oh my god. You gotta love Kentaro when it comes to some of this artwork. You know what I was wondering, though? When I was looking at this picture, I was wondering what the hell this is in the background. Like, you see this giant-ass spear thing? Like, I don't know what it is. It looks like an orb or something, but I really can't make it out. Like, I looked at the different pictures and all that, and there's really no picture that really showcases what it is, but it's deep inside of this town, because, like, if you look at the town closely, you see a Colosseum, like a Roman Colosseum right there in the town. You also see, you know, a staircase. I'm guessing that's the castle right there, and what the hell is that in the background? I'm really curious, like, what the hell is that? So, yeah. Quite a large city. It's, you know, designed off of, looks like Roman. Like, Roman, you know, Colosseums and stuff, like, you know, the Romans. That's what the design of it looks like. Most likely I might be wrong slightly there, but, I mean, please don't butcher me on that. But that's what the design looks like to me. But overall, that's pretty much the beginning of this volume right there. Like, I mean, they're just all charging towards this capital. That's exactly what it is. So, yeah. Now, moving on to the next segments of this volume, you have the pirates. So, the pirates, I'm guessing, are going to be reoccurring characters for this arc, because they've been set up to be, like, the enemies, or the antagonists of this arc, and I'm guessing the Sea God is also being set up for the antagonist of this little arc. I guess the Falconia arc, I don't know exactly, but the Sea God, we get a little bit of backstory on this supposed creature. This Sea God was casted in, like, banished to this island, and it was banished to this island by the Marrow. I think that's how it is. If I'm correct, isn't Marrow similar to mermaids? I think I'm correct. I've seen that somewhere in mythology when I was reading a long time ago. If I'm incorrect, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me on that. But I mean, I swear Marrow's, you know, what this girl, Isma or whatever is, I think she is a mermaid or something, or a descendant of a mermaid or something like that. But regardless of that, these Marrow, they banished this sea god on this island because the sea god was a very evil creature. It was devouring the entire sea, eating people, eating fishes. It was making the entire sea of death. Like, there's nothing living inside of the sea. And so, in the act of desperation, these Marrow saved the sea and banished this sea god into this cave on this island, and it's been banished there ever since. So, I'm assuming there's a barrier or whatever has happened to it, and it's been locked away. And what's even more interesting when you add it on top of that, since we do know the astral layers have, you know, kind of fused together, I'm just assuming since a lot of legends and stuff, like all these legendary creatures that have been mythology and people have just heard stories and never seen it, I'm guessing since the astral layers have slightly fused together, if there's any sort of barriers that blocked it through the astral layers, I'm guessing even gods can walk into the physical realm. And if this does happen, which I'm assuming is what is going on, I'm guessing this sea god has been set free because of astral layers fusing together. So, I'm really curious exactly what else has also been set free upon the world, because if this, like, giant sea god, whatever it is, you know, in the island, like in this cave, I'm assuming there's probably other things out there that's, you know, similar to gods, angels, and demons have also been set free. Because we did find out a long time ago in Volume 25 that there was demons, angels, gods, so many different gods on these different planes of existence. And I'm assuming they might also be set free eventually. Because we don't know necessarily how many layers fuse together into the physical realm. I mean, it could be just, you know, the first tipping point of the astral layers. We don't know exactly how deep it goes down, but from the power that the Emperor spewed out of him, we could assume it's pretty fucking deep, because, I mean, we saw the God Hand starting to come out into the real world, so we'll have to see where that goes. Now, getting back on topic, this sea god, apparently it gets stronger when it eats things. Like, if it eats people, and through its tentacles, it makes more tentacles. Which is kind of scary, because the sea god can continue to get stronger and stronger if it eats more things. So if it ate, like, a town of 10,000 people, imagine how many tentacles it would have. 10,000 freaking tentacles. So, it can easily make an army. It's kind of like a necromancer, slightly. I mean, I know it's not a necromancer, but it's slightly like that. Like, it devours people, and every time it kills someone, it gets stronger because it's, you know, making more minions. And that's very scary. It's really, really scary, because we don't know necessarily how many people have been devoured by this thing and how many tentacles this sea god has, and that's just scary. It's really, 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 really freaking scary to see how this thing was just expanded upon in this volume. So, what I have to say about this? It's obvious that it's going to be a major issue, and probably next volume we're going to get to see more fighting going on. Now, Guts goes into his Berserker armor to fight this large horde of enemies. And I wonder, I really, really wonder, is something bad going to happen? Because, like, the last time Guts used this armor and he was not really in control, he started to lose feeling, taste, and stuff like that, sight, because we already saw an example, like, a volume and a half ago, that Guts was already starting to go slightly blind. When he was looking around on the ship, his vision went fuzzy, like, he couldn't see what was going on, and that's, you know, before he used the armor again. And as we already know, the Knight of Skeleton already foreshadowed and told Guts, if you continue using this armor, you're going to eventually not be able to, you know, feel things, you're not going to be able to see, taste, whatever, and you'll have uncontrollable shakes. So, since Guts is once again using this armor, he might eventually lose his eyesight. Like, I'm just waiting for the time when Guts finally, like, loses all feeling and he's detached from an average human being. Because he's losing his humanity the more and more he uses his armor. And it's very, very scary, because I really, really hope he doesn't, you know, curse himself to, like, an undead death. Like, maybe he might turn into something like the Knight of Skeleton. And it's seeming more and more possible every time he uses this armor. So, we'll have to see. I mean, I wonder how he's going to get out of this stance. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of enemies on this island. It's the night of the full moon, and Guts is attacking anything in his path. And as we know how the Berserker armor is, it will continuously attack everybody around it, friend or foe, until either the user dies from blood loss and just dies and can no longer move, or it wipes out all its victims, like all its enemies and stuff like that. So, yeah. I highly doubt Shurike at the moment could really help out Guts. I'm just going to say it right now. I highly doubt she could help out Guts because of the amount of enemies around the area at the moment. So, yeah. It's going to be a very, very interesting volume. I cannot wait to actually sit down and read the volume after I'm done with this review. So, one thing I do want to mention, okay, about this volume. We have it to where this girl, this new female character, is introduced in this volume, and I think her name is, Isma? I think that's how you say it. Please, like, if I messed it up, please let me know in the comments below. Please let me know how to pronounce it, but I think it's Isma. This girl that was introduced is a Marrow, or a half Marrow, and her mother, at one point in her life when she was younger, married a human, and had, I guess, you know, sex with a human, and she is half Marrow. Now, from what she states is, she can swim as fast as a Marrow, but it can't, like, transform into, like, a fish-type fin things. Like, she has no fins. So, we don't know necessarily what is causing that. We don't know if it's because she is half human is why she can't transform into, I'm guessing, a Marrow. But it's really cool to find out that other creatures can, you know, be with humans. This is what was clarified in this volume. Because if Marrows can be with humans, that means that other races can be with humans too and have a child. That means eventually down the road, is this set up for maybe creatures and human beings that are half mixed between, like, maybe ogres, trolls, you know, stuff like that. I wonder if that's what Kintaro's trying to do with this, you know, Marrow setup. Is it trying to set up for maybe future characters in the future of Berserk that might be mixed with different races? And if that is going to happen, that would be pretty freaking crazy. I mean, I wonder if that's, you know, what Kintaro's trying to hint at with this, you know, new girl's introduction. Now, I wonder what role she is going to play, though. That's the big thing I'm wondering right now, because we do know that the Marrow sealed away the Sea God. and this girl is half Meryl. I'm assuming she's going to have something to do when it comes to helping Guts and him out when it comes to fighting these tentacle creatures, because Kentaro would not introduce this character if she wasn't important, because every single character that has been introduced into Berserk has been important some form or way. And so, yeah, I mean, it's obvious she's going to help in some way, but I wonder exactly what, because I don't think she can use any magic from what I can see. She can't really use any magic because she was mesmerized by finding out the tales of Isidro and, you know, Shurike, so she can't use any magic. She can swim fast, but that's it, so I guess she could help out people if they fall into the water, but I mean, what else can she really do if she doesn't have any magic or anything like that? I don't know how necessarily she's going to be useful to the gang against this seagull and these tentacles if she has no magic. Now, speaking of the Isidro, the great Isidro that was talking his stories to Isma in this chapter, in this volume, that fan service, my god, Isidro, you're getting them opie, you're getting them opie. Like, he was sitting there staring at them opie, he's like, oh. He was just like, oh. And then you have to love it when Puck's like, hey, her head's up above where you're looking. And, like, her head's not down there. That's funny. It's so fucking funny. Just getting to see how Isidro's like, oh. He's just so mesmerized. And then when you have Shurike look into his sight to see what's going on, she sees a pair of freaking breasts. And she's like, huh? And when she gets, like, she trips and falls. And when we get to see her, she has, like, seaweed covered over. And she's like, I had a very bad experience. And she was so pissed and shit. That was so cute. And it was funny. It was just really funny moment. It's crazy how Kentaro can add this comedy alongside these dark elements. It's very weird. Like, that's something I normally never mention when it comes to Berserk. But Berserk has a really great way of demonstrating comedy along with keeping the serious atmosphere it has. And one day I really need to go in depth with that, because Kentaro knows how to have a light tone alongside of all this dark atmosphere he builds up. And the way he switches these tones are really, really brilliant. One day I need to really dive into that, but not today. So yeah, that's pretty much the volume, I think. That's majority of the volume. The pirates, you know, come in, they're riding on a fucking ship, they're going onto the land. It's just really crazy, crazy freaking volume. It was a good volume. I had a lot of fun reading it. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. How'd you feel about this volume of Berserk? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? What's your favorite moments about it? You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live, and prepare for another volume review very, very soon. Please be safe. Chibi out.